Welcome to Lived In, the interior design podcast for ordinary people living in ordinary homes. It's season 5, and as the format of the podcast shifts, we are exploring art, architecture, real estate, and just helpful tips that make for good design. Let's get into it. Hello everyone, I've really enjoyed summer. Obviously, I've summered a little too hard, and it's now been 2 months since the podcast in its existing format has been out on the interwebs. I have taken a little bit longer coming back because I was looking at basically 2 main things, which were my bandwidth and capacity and what I was doing to add value. I have a lot of conviction about not just adding to noise. I want to be saying something that's valuable. So I took my time coming back and thinking about what this format would look like, because over the summer, I have released my newsletter every week, and I've loved doing that. And I really feel that that's a place where I'm adding a lot of value, and it's something that is short and sweet and really gives people what they need. And so I didn't want to stretch myself too thin to the point where the newsletter began to suffer or the podcast was just a lot of noise. And so what I've actually decided to do, and the reason that this season is called Voice Notes, is to actually take the newsletter that I'm releasing every Friday and turn it into the podcast that comes out on a Monday now instead of a Wednesday. So the hope with this is, one, that I'm able to release every single week. That shouldn't be too difficult. It does mean you're going to have shorter episodes, but I think the things that we talk about, you'll find a lot more exciting. And some people appreciate a audio format more than a written format, so everybody wins. So this installment is called Upstate Who. And you couldn't afford this if it was in upstate New York. And I will explain why that's the title in just a second. But before we do, let me get into the format of these episodes, these voice notes. The top section is just some art that I've found. I've really tried with my newsletter to not be pushing specific items, because everybody does that in newsletters. Everybody pushes items and benefits through affiliate links, and I love affiliate links for other people, but again, I'm really trying not to add to noise. I'm really trying not to push you to consume when you don't need to. So there's some art for inspiration here. There are 3 listings I usually talk about. Sometimes it's 4, just depends. I'll have a section usually exploring a room or a specific element in a room and talking about why it works. And then the last section is almost always called One Good Thing. And that is where we talk about a design tip or a piece of advice that might just help you with real estate or with choosing furniture for your home, etc. So the art this week is actually beautiful. I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, but it's called Loro de Lazuro. It's a framed print from the Museum of Modern Art Design store. And I don't know if you knew that you can purchase framed prints from them, but you can. And it's a really great and affordable way to get art if you are looking. Again, no affiliate links here, not pushing it, just telling you. It does retail for $225 if you're not a member of the MoMA Design store. But I think the reason I picked this piece is it's yellow and has some blue and some red, a tiny bit of green, and then black is the other really dominant color. And I think this would be a really great piece of art in a kid's bedroom because it has a colorful element to it, a playful element to it, but it still feels quite grown up. So it's something that can grow with the child. It's not like having a giraffe on the wall or anything like that. Not that I have anything against that, just not what I would do. So it's by Joan Miro. It's a reproduction of the original, obviously, which was done in 1967. And a lot of Joan's art is actually featured and represented in MoMA's collection. So It's great. It comes in a black ash frame with a gallery acrylic finish, and it is wired for hanging, so you can just hang it right away, which is nice and easy. The next section, and I won't do this in every episode, guys, I promise, but just while we're getting familiar, is the 3 listings I was talking about. 3 listings worth seeing. And these are the ones that you wish you could get in upstate New York, but if they were there, you wouldn't be able to afford them. The first one is 200 Cameron Avenue. And don't worry, links are in the show notes. It was built in 1917. It's a stunning farmhouse. And it also has a guest cottage and a pool house and sits on 2.5 acres with an option to purchase a 2.3 acre lot right next door, which is great. In North Carolina, it costs $970,000, which is not a small amount of money. But if it was in New York, it would be significantly higher. And so who needs upstate when you can buy this in North Carolina? I'm trying to think what my favorite features of this house are. I love the trees in front of the entry. I love the shake siding. I love the entryway. I think every house should receive you. That's a really weird concept and probably one I'll get into in another one of my newsletters and episodes. But I don't like it. I've realized when you walk into a house and there's no entry, it just feels like, bam, you're in the living room. I think a house should receive you. I also love the staircase that is in the middle of the hallway. It's very nice. There's also a lot of windows, vaulted ceilings. Like I said, the link's in the show notes. Make sure you check that one out. 393 Moultonville Road is the next one, and it used to be a train station. Right now, it's a 2,100 square foot home, and it sits on almost 8 acres, so a lot of space. And this one is really one of a kind and very storied. It has a small cupola at the top on the roof. It's a tin roof. It's patinaed. It's orangey red. There's brick around the foundation and a beautiful front porch. And because it's in the middle of 8 acres, it's really private. So a very, very cool house. It has the original doors. It has original floors, transom doorways, original staircase, like absolutely gorgeous. Not one to miss. And again, because it's North Carolina, $500,000 for 2,100 square feet. Not so in upstate New York. The last one is 368 Hopewell Road. And it's the last one, but it's also the largest one that I'm going to be talking about this week. It is 3,000 square feet, and it's this kind of rustic farmhouse with a really charming, unassuming interior, original doors, beadboard paneling, and a really cool back porch. This one, to me, is very common, very typical of what you see in and around Eastern North Carolina. It's the Greek Revival style, so pillars going all the way from the second floor down to the first floor, and a tin roof, all white. It screams, I'm a country farmhouse. And it's actually in Edenton, North Carolina, which is a really cool place to live, partially just because it's on the water. So take a look at that one too. That one is $549, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, and 3,000 square feet. A lot of room. In the newsletter before last Friday, so we're now talking about 2 Fridays ago, I talked about investing in quality when you purchase high-touch items. And that's something I've mentioned on the podcast before, that our priority when it comes to where we invest should be in things that are going to be touched and experienced very tangibly daily. And then when I wrote that, I thought, well, I need to tell people what good quality is, because it's not as obvious as I may think it is to everybody. So how can I help you better understand what makes something good quality? Here are the main things I pointed out, and there are 4 of them. The first one is that it has integrity. So it isn't a veneer that looks like wood, it's wood. It isn't a metal that looks like wood, it's metal. It isn't quartz that looks like marble, it's marble. I really think you should buy the real deal. And if you cannot afford the real deal, buy something else that is just what it is, but is made really well. So buy granite that is just granite, or buy quartz that just looks like quartz. We know with marble, for example, that it patinas. That's part of the beauty of the stone. And so if you have this marble-esque, but doesn't have the feel of marble, doesn't patina like marble, doesn't really have integrity. It's pretending to be something that it isn't. So the first one is it has integrity. The second is that it uses as few materials as possible, with the exception of recycled items. So going back to integrity, you really want a material that has been fortified. As with recycling, for example, when you recycle, you take something and reconstitute it, but it's reinforced, it's fortified, it's stronger as a result, not weaker. You don't want a material that has been hacked into pieces and then glued together. And I know that there's nuance there. But if you think about something like plywood, that is something that has been fortified, it's been strengthened. You don't want something flimsy that uses metal here, but then wood here and then plastic there. You really want it to be solid. And one way to just tell this is solid is typically heavier. If it's a solid fortified material, it's going to be heavier, not lighter. You can actually spot this really well with garden furniture. A lot of times, big box stores or member clubs like Sam's Club or Costco will sell, in quote, wrought iron furniture. But when you go to pick that piece of furniture up, you recognize it's not wrought iron because it is hollow, it's light. So you want something that is solid and heavy. That's typically going to be better quality. Number 3, it has great warranties. If it comes with a lifetime warranty, that is probably because the manufacturer does not think you'll have issues with their product. If it comes with a great warranty, it's likely a better product. There are some faucet brands that I think do this really well. I believe Delta and Moen both offer lifetime warranties. So if you're buying one of their products, you know you're buying something that is built to last because they're not in the business of giving away items for free all the time. Last but not least, number 4, it is a product of great craftsmanship. So where was this item made? Who made it? How did they make it? When you buy something that someone lovingly took the time to make with, great pride, it means you are likely getting a product that is built and designed thoughtfully, functionally, and with beauty in mind. So how do you know that something is good quality? It has integrity. It uses as few materials as possible. It has great warranties. It's a product of great craftsmanship. All right. Now for our final section, one good thing, a tip, if you will. The relationship between items in a room is, I think, probably around 70% of what makes the room work. Everything altogether is creating a conversation, if you will. And so it needs to be coherent in order to be understandable and pleasant to your eye. So here's an example that you can save for later. In your bedroom, you would like, or you ought to, I don't like that. I don't like you ought to. I would suggest, there we go, much better. In your bedroom, I would suggest that you have nightstands that hit at or very close to where the top of your mattress sits. Slightly taller than the mattress is fine, but if you go too low, it can be more difficult to pull off. There are ways to do so. So actually in the newsletter, I included 2 images, and the first one is a bedroom from Garamia Design. I think I said that correctly. And the nightstands are actually a lot lower than the top of the mattress, but they are tied in visually through the headboard and thoughtful decor. And again, this goes back to that relationship between the items. There needs to be kind of a bridging, connecting piece there. Otherwise, they would look odd. And then the second image is actually a bedroom, I believe that's designed by Christian Bentz. And here the nightstand or dresser, because it looks more like a dresser than a nightstand, it is taller than the mattress. However, it's not taller in a jarring way, and it's tied in through the pillows. It also isn't the tallest item in the room. So it's not like you go from this really low mattress to a really high nightstand or dresser. The height of the pillows actually on the bed come up quite a bit, and so the dresser doesn't feel as large. So the added height, again, from other things, from the lamp in the picture, the art, and of course the bed frame, which is it's not a 4-poster bed, but it has a very high, a very tall headboard. The added height from those items help the taller nightstand to sit comfortably within the greater landscape and greater context of the room. That's it for this week. Told you, a lot shorter, but I think what we're talking about are things that you can grasp, take a quick look at, pick up what you need to pick up from, and move on. So I hope you enjoyed this. There'll probably be some tweaks to the format as we go, but I wanted to not hold back any longer and make sure that this came out. So I will see you again next week. Added benefit of these shorter episodes for more.